Hello everybody, welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door and join us for Dearly Departed Round 11 review. The show where we keep in touch with those clever teams that are covered in the Championship that are now up in the Premier League. You saw the badges. We are talking Leeds, Villa, Norwich, Watford and Brentford, and I don't know what other word to use to describe it. Just a shocking weekend in terms of the dearly departed. We would think it was newsworthy if one of our teams had gotten rid of their manager, but two of them have gotten rid of their manager in the space of, well, I don't know, about 18 hours or something. Norwich getting shot of Daniel Farke pretty much immediately after beating Brentford in a dearly departed derby match on Saturday, and then Aston Villa sort of following suit. Over 24 hours removed from their defeat at Southampton on Friday night. Goodness me, we got controversy in the Watford game as well, and a possible return to form for Leeds. They didn't get a win, but the trend is hopefully upwards, and we got something good to talk about on the show. Anyway, please get involved in the comments and have your say as well. You can also support over on Patreon, which Simon has done. Simon is our fan sponsor for the Dearly Departed. 25 years as a Bees fan. Finally, the bus stop in Hounslow are in the Premier League. Thanks, Dad, for taking me in 96 when football was not such a priority as it is now. Easy for me to say. Thank you so much for Simon. As we always say, the content will be free here on YouTube. But if you do want to support my work, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom is the place to do it. Right, shall we get into a very interesting weekend for the Dearly Departed? As always, we'll go top down, which does mean Brentford. Although we are getting very, very squished up. A couple of trends down from a couple of our teams, and maybe a slight trend up from one of them. And everybody is squished down there. Like I say, we are currently 20th, 17th, 16th, 15th and 14th. Hey, as long as there's more teams outside that relegation zone than in, then I'll be a happy man. But the downward trend does continue for Brentford. A fourth defeat on the trot at home to Norwich, who get their first win of the season. But of course, all of that just got completely forgotten the second that Daniel Farke was fired. So look, we'll get into that. And what I will say is there are separate videos on the Norwich situation with Farke and Villa with Dean Smith when we get to that, already on the channel. So maybe hit pause if you want to hear me go into depth about the managers, and go and check that out and come back and join us. But we've got to talk about this game first that ended Brentford 1, Norwich 2, with Norwich going 2 up by half time, and Brentford not able to fight back there in the second half. Here are your teams. The Bees are still without David Raya, of course, in goal. Alvaro Fernandez continues there. The back three is Pinnock, Janssen and Zanka, so still no Aya. The wing backs are Canos and Henry. Central midfield, Janelt, Norgard and Jensen, with Mbeumo and Tony continuing up front. The 3-5-2 for Brentford. The system is solid. Frank is sticking with it. The results have turned now, though. It's been interesting. Brentford fans' thoughts on the system, the strategy. Just play it out, trust in the process, as these managers say, or does there need to be a little tweak in either personnel or shape? And we're talking about a tweak, not a complete overhaul here, by the way. Speaking of overhauls, Norwich under Farke, and I mean it's probably revealing, have changed their system several times recently, but back to the old classic 4-2-3-1 there. Maybe a last Hail Mary from Daniel Farke. Sadly for him, because I like him very much, it didn't work. Krull in goal, Aarons, Omobamidele and Gibson, no Hanley. So look, maybe his hand was forced to go from 3 centre-backs to 2, who knows. So Omobamidele and Gibson. Williams starts at left back. Norman and McLean in a double pivot there. Dowell, Lees-Melou, Rasica are the three off the front with Teemu Pukki up the top. And here are the goals. And Matthias Norman's been a bit of a rare sort of bright spark for Norwich, hasn't he? He gives them the lead on only 6 minutes. We're in two things can be true territory here. It's very bad defending, but it's good from Norman at the same time. I think it's Janelt who kind of gets stuck between closing down the ball and getting into his position. He sort of runs out to a sort of left central position and leaves the gap, and then kind of realises, there's nobody else closing the ball down, and Norman kind of swings round and comes back through. He's been threatening to score a goal like this, Norman, sort of from the edge of the box. So it is poor defending. Graham Souness had a big rant, didn't he, after the Manchester derby about you close the ball down. Someone closes the ball down. You're organised, and nobody does for Brentford there. Norman gets to the edge of the box. You can see there, good finish from pretty much right on the line of the penalty area into the corner to Fernandes, left-hand side. So bad start by Brentford, bad defending, good finish, and Norman certainly is a player that whoever the new Norwich manager is will, hashtag first name on team sheet here, be popping right in that number 6 spot and sort of building around. He looks a viable Premier League player, doesn't he? Lots of questions as to whether Teemu Pukki is a viable Premier League player, certainly a very good Championship player. He's going to win a penalty here. You can see, eagle-eyed, that's Charlie Good. Zanka goes out after 12 minutes, and Good, the former Northampton, have I got the right club there? Player, a bit rash there on Pukki. Pukki's clever, actually, lulls him in. In comes the slide tackle, and contact made, and down goes Pukki. I don't think many Brentford fans all debate. Good did the usual point over at the ball, but it's not a good challenge. And unless you know that shot's coming and you're sliding in to make the block, you've got to stay on your feet in the box in these instances. Pukki, nice and cool and calm. Many people believe if you fouled for a penalty, someone else should take it, but Pukki dusts himself off and sticks it in to the corner. I'm not sure if he scored from open play yet this season. I think he's got another penalty as well. I may be wrong about that, but good to see Pukki on the score sheet from a Norwich point of view. Not good from a Brentford point of view. 2 down in 30 minutes and, glass half full, glass half empty, and, one person's perspective is the opposite of somebody else and all of that. But Brentford fans will look at that as bad defending for the first goal, with a good finish, of course, and really a mistake to give away the penalty for the second goal. But this is the Premier League, and even the Premier League's bottom side, Norwich, will punish you if you let them. Brentford are going to push on in the second half. They have a goal ruled out on 50 from Brian Mbeumo. The VAR gets involved in that one. They do get back to 2-1. Saman Ghoddos came on for Janelt at half-time, and he gets the assist. Good finish that by Rico Henry coming in from left wing-back, and they haven't picked him up, and he kind of sticks it in on the volley there. But despite the second half, and I've got the numbers over here, 70% possession to B, 6 shots on target to 2, 3 corners to 1, 2 big chances to 0. Norwich, in very un-Norwich-like fashion this season, it has to be said, hold out and get the victory. So, really important win, possibly for Norwich, up until that point where the news story completely changed. Brentford are now losing games that they were winning, if you know what I mean, whereby they're allowing teams to punish them, if that makes any sense. And they gave Norwich a 2-goal start here, and for all their huff and puffery, and there was a couple of good saves by Tim Krul, I have to say, they've gone and they've lost this game. So let me know your thoughts on Brentford. 4 defeats in a row now. Let's have a look at the numbers. And look, a game state often tells us a lot, doesn't it? And look, any team, apart from maybe Manchester City after I saw them on Saturday, any team would retreat at 2-0 up and, maybe have a different approach, circulate the ball. They might be 10 metres, 5 metres further back as a team, mightn't they? But the numbers do still skew there in Brentford's favour. It's not really a smash and grab when you've gone 2-0 up, is it? But 3 big chances to 1. Obviously, the 1 big chance from the penalty spot, which does pad the XG as well. 0.77, isn't it? Always from the penalty spot. Brentford 2.92 on the XG and only 1 goal. So, as much as it's a nice story for Daniel Farke to have gone out on a victory, I suspect Brentford fans in the comments will be telling me, Ben, look at those numbers, should have got something from the game. But they didn't. It's almost feels like irrelevant from a Norwich point of view, this victory, doesn't it? They've got the first win, which is great. That's a monkey off the back. That's probably a good thing for the next manager, actually, because, if he goes in and doesn't win in the first 3, 4, 5 games, then, all of a sudden the sins of others and all those games that hadn't been won prior to this. So it's probably almost a far, far bigger help for the new manager. And obviously it didn't do Daniel Farke any good because he was fired immediately after the game. So, look, the narrative for Brentford is clearly on the losing run and what needs to be done to maybe peak back up as they drop down the table at the moment. And for Norwich, really, I don't suspect I'll get too many comments on the game here on YouTube. It'll all be about who the new manager is. I've had a couple of texts this morning telling me about a 2-person shortlist, and David Ornstein has written about on The Athletic about a forward-thinking but experienced modern manager. I don't know what that means or who that is, but we will find out. Get your thoughts in the comments. Brentford on a losing streak. Norwich in for a new manager. It was Brentford 1, Norwich 2. And onward we go. And next up, we're going to talk Leeds. Leeds 1, Leicester 1. But I think we can be pretty positive about this one. A big story is the return of Forshaw and his performance. I think it was another one of those occasions. I remember we got a few of these at the start of last season where people kind of went, look, forget the result. Both teams went for it and it was just a great game of football as well. And that sounds more like the old Leeds from last season. And very viable, even though they didn't get the 3 points Leeds, in terms of more performances like this down the line, and that trend will clearly be upwards and the move will be up the table. I just had a quick listen to the Square Ball while I was editing the pictures, the Leeds podcast, which is a good listen. And they said something that did resonate with me. Leeds look very much different to a team that's at risk of going down, if that makes sense. And I don't think there's any sense of arrogance on their part by saying that. But, they're on the front foot, they're progressing the ball, they're looking to win games, and they don't have that terror of losing games that teams that, maybe in that bottom 3 for the long haul seem to have about them. So, taken at face value, I agree with that comment. Here are the teams. So for Leeds, Meslier in goal. Dallas, a right back, still no Ailing. Llorente, Cooper, Strawick at left back. So 3 centre backs, and I don't know what Stuart Dallas is anymore. In my head, back in the day, he was a winger. But I know he's played about 100 positions since then. And Forshaw and Phillips. Now, people get very hung up on team shapes and whatever SofaScore has put up there. I remember times watching Leeds where almost Forshaw went behind Phillips when Forshaw was fit. Maybe we have to go back into 18-19 possibly for that. I think I was at Forshaw's last start for Leeds, actually, if that was the infamous game for Kiko Casilla at Charlton, that they lost to a Macaulay Bonne goal, in fact. And Macaulay Bonne is now tearing it up for Ipswich in League One. There you go, how things change. But it was almost that Forshaw was the deep line playmaker at times and Phillips would go a bit further forward. So this is good for Leeds that they've got another player who can just sit in and very calmly circulate the ball. it's good for Phillips as well because, for the longest time we said about Leeds, you take Phillips out of there, who else can do that job? Well, nobody. But so, this could be an interesting return and good luck to Forde. I hope, for God's sakes, that he stays fit now. Rafinha, right, Rodrigo, 10, Harrison, left, Dan James down the middle again. Debate the team shape how you will. That's just what SofaScore's come up with. And they do it off the GPS stuff. So we'll go with that. For Leicester, I should point out, Leeds still, there's no striker there, is there? No, Pat Bamford. They miss him, don't they? For Leicester, Schmeichel in goal. Pereira, Soyuncu, Evans, Castagna. Samare and Didi. That's a return that the Leicester fans wanted. I was there and spoke to them after their game against Arsenal. I said they missed him. Tielemans. Lookman gets a start. So does Barnes. And so does Vardy. So big reaction from Brendan Rodgers because Lookman and Barnes were the two guys that came on at 2-0 down. And I remember asking the Leicester fans, will they maybe be in the team against Leeds? And they both get the start. Leeds take the lead in this one, 26 minutes. Rafinha again. And Rafinha's great. Although, if I'm a Leeds fan, am I slightly concerned that all the attacking output seems to go through him? They need a few others to step up. It's all very well having a tremendous player like Rafinha, but you would want to see some other names on the score sheet or, Rafinha not being involved in most of the goals, which he seems to be at the moment. But hey, he's a tremendous player, like I say. I'm not entirely sure he's shooting from here. It goes right across the front. I don't know who it is on the near post. Forgive me. Is it Harrison? Possibly, I can't see. Who wafts a foot at it, doesn't touch it. And there's a goal at Newcastle like this, wasn't there? Where, Rodrigo, I think it was, literally jumped over the ball. But Rafinha's delivery is so... He hits it with such power and curve every time, doesn't he? That I don't know whether his plan is just line up with the far post and swing that ball around. And he hits it so firmly that if this does happen, there's a chance it will just drop in the far corner. And that's exactly what happens here. Leeds lead, but not for long. Literally, I was watching the highlights package preparing for this. And they're showing the kickoff. And I'm like, I'm going to score straight from kickoff. Yes. Ball dropped into the channel. It breaks for Barnes in the first instance. But then that's quality, isn't it? And we always talk about using a player as the marker, and he just curls it round into the far corner. Leeds caught cold from the kickoff. A gamer in two things can be true category. The Leeds fans will comment saying disappointing, weren't quite there, but it is quality from Barnes as well. So I can see two sides of that particular coin. Leicester have won, chalked off fairly late in the game, 68. Well, I suppose it's still half of a half left to go. You can see Lookman on the back post there, and is it his knee or his shin? Just slightly offside, and he sticks that one in the net, but it's disallowed. Probably would have been a bit tough on Leeds when we look at the numbers, who did have a couple of other chances. There's one from, I think it's Harrison, who arrives on the back post, literally on the goal line, and can't quite. I think he was going to try and thigh it into the goal. Rodrigo on the back post sort of slices one a little bit into the side netting. But general positivity from what I'm hearing from Leeds fans. And you have to remember Leicester are good, aren't they? And this is Leeds looking a little bit more like where they were. And on the front foot, 18 shots. Remember that shot count was always high. 10 corners, 3 big chances to 1 in the game. The XG heads in Leeds' favour. And, ifs, buts and maybes if they're not caught out by a bit of quality from Barnes immediately after another goal. They look like a fairly viable candidate. Those numbers and that game state is a win a lot of the time. So, maybe my one grain of positivity here on Dearly Departed this week is Leeds. The return of Forshaw, that's good. And like I say about Phillips, just frees him up. A lot of pressure on that guy. Forshaw hasn't been around since that Charlton game must have been at the start of the 2019-20 season when Leeds got promoted. So can they get Ailing back? Can they get Junior Firpo back as well, a left back? Can they get Bamford back in the team? the trend looks like it's upwards. And if the team's playing well and those players drop in one at a time, then hopefully we can see one of our teams pushing. And let's be honest, then we're not patronising any of our 3 promoted teams, but it is Leeds and Villa. We would have hoped to be more in the middle of the table than they were now. But there you go. I think some cause for positivity. Hopefully I'm not overplaying it. The YouTube comments will tell me if indeed I am. Let me know your thoughts down there on Leeds 1, Leicester 1. Okay, from positivity to doom and gloom, really, because it was Southampton 1, Villa 0 on Friday night. And I'd heard from a lot of Villa fans, particularly after that Arsenal game. Obviously, look, make a lot of contacts doing the YouTube thing, and I interact with fans of all the dearly departed teams. And after the Arsenal game, it was very much, oh Ben, that was not a good performance at all. And obviously got turned over, didn't they, by West Ham? Look, West Ham are very good, and once you go a goal down to them, they can really just beat you up without you even knowing about it on the counter-attack. And we spoke about that on the show after that game, didn't we? And again, after this game, the comments I was sort of reading and receiving from Villa fans was, where's this going? What's the strategy? What's the plan? And the team look uncertain, and the losing streak is now, I think it's five games there for Dean Smith. And obviously, we're reacting to the fact that Dean Smith then, sort of 24, 36 hours after this game, is relieved of his duties. And I said on my video about Dean Smith that everyone was happy at the end of last season and, just in these 11 games without the elephant in the room, Mr. Grealish, in the team. He hasn't managed to reconfigure with Ings and Bailey and Buendia. And a few people, Villa fans, reasonably pushed back and said, yeah, Ben, you're half right, but the form hasn't been good for longer than that. And perhaps last season was backed up by a very good start and it's drifted for a while. I think someone told me, I don't know if this number's correct, but it popped up in the YouTube comments, 39 points in 39 games, which is more survival stuff. We always say a point per game, to survive. You can get to 38 in the Premier League, and it's basically a season's worth of survival form, isn't it? So, maybe it's not been 11 games. Maybe this has gone a while and the trend is downwards. And Dean Smith has gone, and it's very sad because he was a Villa fan and he'd come in and taken them up. Yes, I said on my video, with the caveat of having Grealish and Abraham in the Championship and a club of Villa's size, that is even the minimum expectation, is to win the playoffs for Villa in the Championship. I know that didn't happen the 2 previous seasons, albeit they did lose in the final the previous season. Then they went up. But here we are, survival in the Premier League. And maybe that's the thing for Dean Smith, that the first season in the Premier League was survival. I think it was 37 points, wasn't it? Or perhaps 35. I can't remember that league table particularly. And have they regressed back? And if they have, he's gone, and it's ruthless, and it is what it is. And this was his last game against Southampton, who have been a bit of a nuisance. They beat our team Watford as well last week, didn't they? There's your Saints team: McCarthy, Livramento, Bednarek, Salusu, Walker-Peters, Elianusi, Romeo, Ward-Prowse, Stuart Armstrong, Adam Armstrong up top with Che Adams. Some good old Championship purchased front two that. We covered Che Adams with Birmingham and Adam Armstrong with Blackburn, didn't we? For Villa, they've gone away from the 3-5-2 now in Smith's last game. Parallels with Norwich are staggering, aren't they? Martinez in goal, Cash, Tuanzebe, Mings and Target. So no Konza, Nakamba, McGinn, and no Douglas Luiz. El Ghazi, Buendia at 10. That'd been tried and then out on the right, and now we're trying it again. Bailey starts, Watkins up top, so no Ings against his former club. And the only goal in this game was indeed an early goal from Adam Armstrong. They get a bit of luck in the build-up because the ball, I think there's like a 50-50 in around the centre circle, and It sort of balloons up in the air. It then gets knocked back and breaks for Adam Armstrong. And then, to be fair, it's a really good finish from then. The ball just stands up and his momentum is forward. He just runs in and you can see smashes it there with the left foot. It flies past Emi Martinez into the goal. And if you're Villa, you're on the back foot immediately. And they just don't really create anything throughout the game. It's coming up, no big chances. Well, in fact, let's go straight to the numbers. There are, I think, 2 or 3 good saves by Martinez as well. And look, tell me if I'm wrong. I think the conceived wisdom is it was more likely to go 2-0 Southampton than it was 1-1 Villa in this one. You can see from the numbers, as I suggest, no big chances created by Villa in a team with Buendia and Bailey starting, Watkins up top. 3 shots on target apiece. In the end, Villa get 14 shots off, but there's an air of desperation. Take a look over at the shot map. It's a lot of very small, low percentage chances, all adding up to 0.74 on the XG. Again, we talk about game state, and that game state changes, doesn't it? 3 minutes in when Armstrong scores that opening goal. So you can then argue down the Southampton number because they can just sit in and protect the lead. And I think they did look the more likely there. It ends Southampton 1, Villa 0. But we all know the big story is clearly Dean Smith going. Without wishing to patronise Norwich with this comment, would Villa be the more attractive job? Probably, in terms of financial resource and backing and sort of just traditional club size. I know people get very prickly and triggered by those terms, but if Norwich did want to fish in the same pond as Villa, you'd wonder whether that manager would, focus on the Villa job rather than the Norwich job. They may not even be fishing in the same pond for a new manager. It's going to be very, very interesting to see who picks up at Villa. Constantly using the term big club, but it is, league champions and European Cup winners in the early 80s. Obviously, huge support base, huge resource behind them, big commercial revenues, gate receipts, all of that good stuff is what you get at Villa. And you do get a good squad of players. I saw some debate between Villa fans, and look, of course, debate on Twitter can get ridiculous very quickly. And, as much as it's seen Twitter to be the place to debate, it's almost the worst place to debate in terms of people yelling very short, sharp things at each other and nobody particularly listening to what anybody else was saying. But anyway, this thread I saw was, where does that Villa squad really stand sort of Premier League wise? And you do look through and you think, okay, Martinez, quality goalkeeper. Mings not in great form, but is an England centre half. Tuanzebe, target cash. Okay, workaday Premier League players without necessarily being stars. McGinn's been very good. Grealish was the boy, wasn't he? Obviously, Ings, has been a top level in terms of his goal scoring output. Watkins is an England striker, and then you're looking for the likes of Buendia and Bailey to stay up. I think the point some Villa fans were making is, with good management, it's around the top, the top half, isn't it? But, it's not just a smack home run, open goal, go in there, be competent, and you'll automatically be in the top half. There is still a way to go for Villa in terms of recruitment. When we've just been talking about Leicester. When you look through Leicester and just over years now, they've brought in many, many players that, would then possibly be able to be sold on to then top 6 teams, haven't they? So I think that's where Villa want to. That's the next step after they finish somewhere around the middle. It was 11th last season, wasn't it? So look, let me know what you think. We're probably not going to get too many comments on the game. Another damp squib for Villa, another defeat and concede early and just huff and puff and not get back in. What I'm interested in is who comes in and how do you now configure Ings, Watkins, Bailey, Buendia, etc. How do you make that into a viable game-winning unit? Let me know what you think in the comments. Dean Smith gone. Southampton 1, Aston Villa 0. Okie dokie. Is this the last one? It is the last one. You've only got 4 games to talk about. So I'm just looking at the clock and seeing that I don't waffle on for too long. As ever, we'll put the chapters in on YouTube. So you can skip. You don't have to listen to all my waffle if you just want to focus in on your team. But finally, as The Rock would say, Arsenal 1, Watford 0. And a bit of a contentious one, it has to be said. Claudio Ranieri unhappy about this one, and we will explain why as we go. Be interested to know what Watford fans think. Are they becoming rather more viably defensive in terms of a team that can shut out other teams, and then hopefully with Sarr, King, Dennis, insert João Pedro, insert attacking player, can they then go and use that basis to win games? We all knew with Ranieri it was a horrible start, and that 3 points against Everton was an important one. He's currently now on, after this defeat, 3 defeats and a win. So again, we'll always judge a manager, and again, I'm not being disrespectful to Watford here, of a side that's just hoping to survive by the 1 point per game. And he's just off that now. He's 3 points from 4 games. Of course, with the caveat that he has played Ranieri. Liverpool at home. Got the win, didn't he, at Everton. I think the Southampton one was a disappointing one for Watford fans, wasn't it? Losing at home, that one. And now Arsenal away. And I think the games continue to get tougher. If he can get just one more win in there and then it's 6 points from 7 or 8 games, this is manageable, assuming, and we'll look at the table, we don't get a big spurt from Burnley, Newcastle, Norwich, who are down there. You may get a big spurt from Newcastle after January, is the conceived wisdom. Who the hell knows? There are the teams in this one, anyway, after all my hypothesising. For Arsenal, who are in very good nick at the moment, and they have moved up to 5th, and this was their 3rd straight victory. Ramsdale in goal, Tomiyasu, White, Gabriel, Nuno Tavares, Smith Rowe, Maitland-Niles, Lokonga and Saka. By the way, kudos to Arsenal. That midfield, Smith Rowe, Maitland-Niles and Saka, 3 young English players all have come through there. You've got to love that, whoever you support. Lacazette and Aubameyang. It's the other side of the coin, isn't it? Bringing in the quality from across Europe. For the Hornets, Foster in goal. Is that shirt his now? I don't know if Bachmann is... Do you know, actually, I saw Bachmann walking away after the Liverpool game. So I don't know whether that's whether Foster is going to be Ranieri's guy going forward, or whether Bachmann's still not quite there fitness-wise. But let me know if you know more than I. Firmino and Rose, the full-backs. And Coyle starts with Cathcart at centre-back. So that axis of Troost Ekong and Sierralta from last season looks like is not going to be the one in the Premier League. Sissoko, Kutska and Tufan. Certainly a solid look to the central midfield 3. With the creativity supposedly coming down the left from Dennis, down the right from the speed and directness of Sarr, and Josh King up top to score the goals. Did score a hat-trick against Everton. Didn't he? Here's one that was disallowed for Arsenal. You can see Saka clearly offside on 8 minutes. People get very confused though when the goalkeeper has come out from his goal and you're looking for that second player, but it is of course 2 players need to be behind offside. Here is a very odd looking tackle from Danny Rose. I suppose ignorance isn't an excuse here. The ball kind of comes down out of the sky. Lacazette is going to try and pull it down, but he knows full well where Rose is. And I don't think Rose knows where Lacazette is, and he just bashes into him. You can see the arms out. The stills are always incriminating, aren't they? But it's not good. It looks like a penalty to me. However, it's a great save by Ben Foster, and we've got a good still there. Aubameyang's trying to send him into one of the corners and stick the ball down the middle, which he does. But it looks like Foster saved that with his left leg, in which case, what a brilliant bit of goalkeeping, just throwing the leg up. Look, Foster is a complete heat magnet, isn't he? for criticism when Watford don't do well because of this place here, YouTube, and his presence on that. But I think he plays well in this game. Certainly there's a penalty save, and there's another good save with his feet later in the game. Now, here is the goal, and Smith Rowe, after Ben White sort of pushes forward. Look, Smith Rowe's quality, we know all about that. We know he can find the corners from those areas. Very, very fine player. Probably be in the England squad before long, Smith Rowe. So with my England hat on, good luck to him. However, I think we can deal with Ismail Assar, who's on the deck there, who's gone into a 50-50 hoping to win a foul. And I don't think it was a foul. But you need to wind back a little bit further than that. And Danny Rose pops the ball out for a throw-in so treatment can be given. I can't even remember who it was to. There we go. A lot of football this weekend, a lot to think about. My apologies. So Rose puts the ball out, and here's where everything comes a cropper, because Arsenal don't give it back. Now, I'm sure you'll hear Arsenal fans say players have been told not to put the ball out, and there's nothing in the laws that tell you to give the ball back. However, over the decades, there was this sort of tacit, unsaid gentleman's agreement that you would give the ball back. Now, over the years, yes, that was generally sort of adhered to. You would get the odd occasion where teams would be a bit naughty with it, and late in the game when they're defending a lead, someone would miraculously go down and they're going to stick the ball out of play, and all of a sudden the opponent then feels like they have to give it back. They goes back to the keeper, they move up the pitch, kick the ball down, and the chasing team then has to build up an attack again. So look, it can be exploited. It's not in the laws that you have to give the ball back, and it is also, players are told not to kick the ball out. So I can see Arsenal fans might argue that, and in very sort of binary terms, don't kick the ball out. But if your teammate's down, what are you supposed to do? Perhaps if you are going to kick the ball out, boot it a bit further away from the pitch so you can, or further away from your goal so you can move out. That's all by the by. Should Arsenal give it back? Jamie Redknapp on Sky thought they should. I guess he's neutral. Claudio Ranieri obviously thought they should. I haven't heard what Mikel Arteta has said about it. So you can debate that till the cows come home. The truth is they didn't give it back. Feels like I'm being an Arsenal apologist here. What I will say, and I'm not, what I will say is there were a couple of phases, not couple of phases, but it wasn't like the ball was thrown in and they scored immediately. But as Jamie Redknapp pointed out on Sky, rightly, your concentration goes then. You might be a bit emotional because you expected the ball to be given back. It's a grey area in football, isn't it, that does have a black and white thing in the laws which says players don't kick the ball out, wait for the referee to stop the game. But yeah, we're in very much no man's land in this debate, aren't we? So, yes, do you go against the black and white of the laws, and with the time-honoured tradition that if you kick the ball out to and your opponent or your teammate is legitimately hurt, you'll have it given back? Go ahead, go on, fill the comments with it. But can you go with a black and white, hard and fast sort of situation with that? I don't know, but certainly Danny Rose will probably think twice about doing it again, given they've been punished. Whatever your view is, you're entitled to it either fairly or unfairly by not having the ball given back. There we go. Have we dealt with that even-handedly? Hopefully we have. And again, I get the outrage from both sides, but unfortunately, there is wording in. I should have brought it up, but I know there was something in the laws that said, or there was certainly a directive, if it's not even down in the laws, to say don't kick the ball out. Leave it up to the ref to stop. Anyway, enough on that. Watford will consider themselves hard done to. And they should equalise here, shouldn't they? Look, I know it's easy for me to sit here in my armchair having eaten some waffles late last night and not being an elite athlete, but Josh King's got to score that, hasn't he? It is on the angle, but he's still a good... I mean, you can measure it by the 6-yard box. 2 to 3 yards out, just shape that in with the right foot, curl it into the empty net, and he hits the side netting. So they could have gotten out of there with a point, couldn't they? Watford, however, only one shot on target for the Hornets, but the flip side, and we talk about Watford being a viable defensive side, only one big chance conceded, and we all know that that is the penalty. So let's play the ifs, buts and maybes game. We know the penalty is 0.77 on the XG. So essentially, if you take that out, which, argue with me the wisdom of that or not, whether that's a sensible thing to do, I'm going to do it anyway, and deduct 0.77, and my maths is not great, it'll be around 0.8 or 0.79. So the argument then is, if you're a Watford fan looking for a positive, essentially the team has gone away to Arsenal, who are good. If you take the penalty out of the equation, only conceded 0.79 on the XG, and many will argue, and whatever your opinion is on this, fine, it's subjective, many will argue that they were hard done to by the goal, and also that Josh King should have scored that open goal from the angle as well. So, if you want to be positive and have your glass very, very much half full, you can argue on another day Watford get something from this. Forget this game, but against other teams, if they go away and limit their opponent to that few chances, don't concede a silly penalty, and don't have this odd situation of giving the ball back, and Josh King can score that big... it doesn't go down as a big chance, does it? Because of where it is so far wide, and the XG numbers from there will be low as anything because no one scores from there. Doesn't take into account the goalkeepers off on Safari Ramsdale, does it? But you take the point I'm making that there is some sense of viability that going forward in away games like that, you will score points. Let me know what you think on that analysis. Obviously, the flip side of that is Watford have gone in, been close and lost. And, it is what it is. That there is the argument that if performance then drops off and you're going from a point where you're losing with fairly decent performance numbers and, by the way we're measuring it, then that doesn't bode well. If that performance drops off, then a 1-0 defeat turns into a 2-0 defeat, doesn't it? And so on and so forth. But let me know how you think Ranieri is doing. They do look more viable tactically, which I think was the whole point in Xisco Munoz going out and Claudio Ranieri, obviously with his decades of experience, coming in. Let me know your thoughts. And Ranieri going forward, still a very, very hard run of games. Arsenal 1, Watford 0. God, it's a nightmare this week, isn't it? Talking about giving the ball back and managers getting fired. What I will say is all highly, highly subjective. Please get your views in the comments. But more pertinently, please respect the views of others. When we're talking about subjective, and we get this a lot in football chat, don't we? Of there's no debate, end of story, blah, blah, blah. No. When it's subjective, we need to listen to others' point of views. Even if that affirms our own that we disagree, but we all need to be listening anyway. I sound like Jerry Springer's thought for the day. There is the league table, and my thought for the day is I would obviously take that league table with the season ending. Sorry, Norwich, but that would mean 4 out of 5 of our teams surviving. But Brentford 14th, very much trending down. Leeds 15th, trending up, 8 points in 5 games. Villa 16th, trending down, but my expectation is we'll get a trend back up. We'll see who the new manager is. Watford 17th, trending down with some okay evidence from the Arsenal game, but a difficult run and the trend down possibly likely to continue short term. Norwich are bottom and 5 points adrift and have a vital decision. Stuart Webber, their sporting director, has got to bring in the right guy. So we'll see how all of those trends work themselves out going up to Christmas now, international break, for the next 2 weeks, of course. And when we get back on November 20th, We will get Villa playing at home to Brighton with, in all likelihood, a new manager. If they've not got one in, I don't know what they've been doing for the next couple of weeks. Newcastle versus Brentford. That's got to be a chance for Brentford at the moment. Again, that could be Eddie Howe in and under the table, etc. Who the hell knows? Eddie Howe might jump shark and or jump ship, excuse me, and head off to Villa now. Who the hell knows? I don't know what's confirmed there or not. Norwich versus Southampton again. Hashtag new manager bounce. I don't know. Southampton have been a tricky opponent for our teams, beating Watford and Villa in the last couple of games, and another one now against Norwich. But a new era is going to be starting there at Carrow Road. Watford versus Manchester United. I mean, Manchester United got completely demolished by Manchester City, but as much as we enjoy covering Watford, they're not Manchester City, are they? So it's the sort of game Manchester United tend to show up and win, don't they? So difficult one for Watford. Spurs versus Leeds. Conte versus Bielsa. It's a tricky one, and you would expect a lot of competition in training now with Conte down there at Spurs. So look, it's always difficult. Look, for God's sake, we cover championship teams that have come up to the Premier League, don't we? So it is going to be a tricky one next time out. But do join us for Dearly Departed. That was our round 11 review. Thank you again to Simon, our Dearly Departed fan sponsor. We really appreciate that, Simon. He's got involved over on Patreon. You can do the same. www.patreon.com/BenjaminBloom. The idea here is that I create content. You can enjoy it for YouTube for free. But if you do, you'll have to put up some adverts, of course. But if you do want to, feel that you can dip into your pocket and support my work here, to make it more viable for me to feed my 3-month-old baby daughter and my partner while she's on maternity leave, of course, you can support via Patreon, world's smallest violin there. But it's absolutely free to hit the subscribe button and follow and support on Twitter and Instagram and all of those other good places. Thank you, everybody, for watching. On a tumultuous weekend for the Dearly Departed. 2 managers down, some trends up, some trends down. Never a dull moment. Thank you for watching, and it's over and out from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button, and to be notified every time we upload, ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/BenjaminBloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another video.